Today, we talk about your health and your wellness on the Brewmance podcast with two of the most amazing people that we know. They own Kinfolk let me try that again.
Yep, one more time.
Kinfolk Optimal Living in Scottsdale, Arizona. We have Dr. Keiko Finnegan and Dr. Sera Shepard on the Brewmance podcast today. They are chiropractors, optimal living experts, just all around phenomenal people. Dr. K, Dr. S, it is good to see you both. Thanks for coming on the Brewmance podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So good to see you guys. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Mike and I are grabbing a drink as always. Mike, what do we have as our beer of the week this week?
This is the PebbleHead Stoney Hazy IPA from Santan Brewing.
Good choice. I've had that one.
Ooh.
Have you now?
I'm a big IPA girl, actually. Yeah.
We're getting into that. We're definitely getting into that. I think that's fabulous. Because so let me back up here, because the word chiropractor is used several times, and Rob was always saying, I got a chiropractor appointment. And when I heard anytime I've heard the word chiropractor, and Dr. Sera can back me up on this, my insanely curved spine goes like, no, I don't want anyone touching, popping, adjusting, snapping my neck. I've watched too many action movies to know that is how the good guys kill the bad guys. So I just was afraid of any of that. And then I had to come to you. I was desperate. I had this shoulder weirdness, and Rob kept assuring me, they're not going to pop you. They're not going to break you. They're not going to make you contort you in any weird way. Why are you still called chiropractor when it's not really what we would see as chiropractor?
Well, chiropractic, if you break down the word, it means done by hand. So it's healing through hand touch. So we're still chiropractors, like the essence of who we are. We love the philosophy of chiropractic. We're trained as chiropractors, but there's so many different techniques. So it's kind of like an artist who paints pictures or a chef that cooks. There's so many different ways to prepare food or to create a piece of art. We use different techniques and we blend them, but what we do is a little bit different in our approach. And it doesn't involve cracking or popping of the spine. It's a lot more gentle.
You mentioned, Dr. Keiko, that there was, 100 and some odd types of chiropractic practice.
Yeah.
And you guys, what you call it, at least on your website, kinfolkoptimalliving.com, meditative adjustments. So that's kind of what we're talking about. So my experience, you come in, you lay on the table, you get your mind right. And you have this, because I have like lower back issues. So you have this slight like movement of my legs, and it's just a slight, like tiny micro movement. And I'm like, oh my, that feels amazing. So that's how I would kind of describe it. So how did you guys find your technique? Did it just come to you, given that there's over 100 techniques? And why did you land on the meditative adjustment?
Right. So how I got into chiropractic was I was in a really bad car accident when I was 21 traveling overseas. And about 6 months after my car accident, I started getting migraine headaches. My eyes were killing me. I would get chest pain. I was throwing up everything I was eating. And it got to a point where I started fainting anytime I exercised. Wow. And I was in kinesiology. I was a competitive cyclist. I played ultimate frisbee. It was just like no bueno, right? And so this chiropractor was like, you have to come be a sample patient at this chiropractic seminar. And so at this point, I had gone through the entire medical system for about 1.5 years. And they're like, you have a brain tumor or a heart defect. We just can't find it. And so I showed up to this chiropractic seminar, kind of desperate, but I walked in and they assessed me in a way that I have never been assessed before. They put this history and this timeline of everything I was experiencing in my life. They connected all the dots for me, and they gave me the most gentle adjustment. They literally just touched the back of my knees, what felt like they touched the back of my knees, no cracking, no popping. I went home, I slept for about 12 hours, and I woke up with no headache. And I was like, what is this? This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So that's how I got into chiropractic. That was the one adjustment that created that experience of the power of one adjustment for someone, right? And so I always knew that there was that gentle approach to chiropractic. So I just sought it out in school and started to blend all the different gentle approaches into, our unique approach at Kinfolk.
Can we not paint over ultimate frisbee? What is that? Let's not just blow by that. What's ultimate frisbee?
So you're on a team and you just toss the frisbee. It's like football, but with a frisbee.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
looking
awesome.
that up. I'm all
At
about
some
it.
point, we're going to have a Brewmance league, and they're on our team.
I would love
You
that.
should.
I would love
100%.
that.
Captain. Yeah.
So you guys, you went to, obviously you went to chiropractic school, and you learn all the different techniques. Do you learn your technique, or is it just like a feel thing? So Dr. Sera, you just mentioned, obviously for you, it was an experience. So Dr. Keiko, for you, were you trying different things? Were you trying the typical crack? Oh, I'm going to crack your neck. Or you're like, nah, it just doesn't feel right for me.
Oh yeah. Through school, I was all about cracking. Like I love the sound of cracking joints. I mean, just the release of cracking your knuckles. It releases endorphins in the system. And I had like this ninja type quality of just adjusting the body. But after school, I feel like a lot of people tensed up with that type of chiropractic approach. And then kind of towards the end of school, and then that kind of intermission between school and then starting the business, I got basically dipped into a lot of different other techniques that weren't necessarily taught in school. So what we do here today at Kinfolk isn't actually in schools very much. So it was kind of a lot of underground seminars and conferences. Yeah. And you just
underground sounds. I think it sounds a lot more nefarious than it really was. Like you guys were
easy
like
of chiropractic,
secret knock to get in or something like that. No, I mean, come on. Where were you finding these seminars? Were they local? Did you travel? Did you go overseas? What was that?
Yeah, I did a lot of my training in Europe. So one of the founders of the type of chiropractic that I experienced in the beginning was founded in Australia. And so I went to seminars. I mean, in my first year of practice, I went to Europe like 10 times. I would just fly over for the weekend, do a seminar and fly home because you couldn't learn it in North America. Yeah. And then the other approaches we use, they're
local.
Yeah, founded in the US. So we would just travel to different cities in the US and learn those approaches.
Yeah, lots of traveling for it.
Yeah, it was fun.
You get to combine those things. Okay, so let's talk about that. Flying to Europe for a weekend it seems daunting to me because I've traveled overseas. I've gone to both Europe and I've been to Japan. Those flights alone, they're 10 hours. Getting back, you're like, yeah. And that was after a week. How do you do it for 2 or 3 days? Like, what's that adjustment like? You're like, okay, I need to ground myself. What is? Right. How do you get back into regular time zone?
You just work with your circadian rhythm. You know all the hacks to like surpass the jet lag.
Yeah. We were also in our 20s too. Yeah. You're unstoppable in your 20s. After 30, you can't do that.
Yeah,
that's a very good. Now, what landed you in Scottsdale, Arizona, of all places? You think about this. You're traveling, you're Australia and Europe, and then you're like Arizona. That's where we want to be.
This is the best place, right?
Yes, it is.
I actually was born and raised here. Sarah's Canadian, so yeah, this is my hometown. So I came back for my roots, my family, my support, and I think I had a lot of fear starting my practice on my own. I didn't have a lot of money. I had a ton of student debt. And I was like, where can I go where I can live at home for the first year and then build my practice? So it was kind of I didn't really have a lot of choices. So
hey, we're both glad you landed here. Now I am the, kind of outdoor rednecky kind of guy. This isn't someone, Rob's got his chakra bracelets on and whatnot. And I always clown him for that. And when and I'm going to say this wrong because I think it's tomato, I hope it is, but the Reiki treatment, somebody did that for me. And I was just blown away by it because there was I don't even think she even touched me at any point. And I went into the office with Rob, just completely changed. And he had this big smile on his face, said, aha, yeah, we're going to get you. We're going to get you. Because I felt like my body was just, I had the chills for like hours. It was the craziest thing. And then, so it was an easy, not even transition, I think, step into the type of chiropractic that you do, where it's just this very gentle touch and moving and things get better. It's something that I already believed in moving to that. What do you say to people that think about that kind of stuff and go, nope, not for me, not going to try that, all that hippy dippy nonsense, I'm not going to do it? What do you say to them?
Well, I love skeptics. I would invite them in and, experience it. Give us one opportunity. And, there's so much power when you whisper to the nervous system. You don't need to scream at it. I mean, some people love to be screamed at, and that's totally fine. That's the type of art you resonate with. But, there's so much that we can do with just whispering to the nervous system. And the gentle touch in many ways can be almost more powerful or as powerful as a really heavy hand, because the body's not guarding. You're not having to fight through that, resistance, if you will. But yeah, I think a lot of people think like, oh, with ranges of motion, or if there's a lot of tension, you need a lot of force to get through that, but you really don't.
So how does that work? So it's a gentle touch. So I'll describe, you literally use a lot of touch, right? So you put your hands, let's say, Dr. Keiko, you put your hands so often on my temples, and you just leave them there for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 seconds, and you just kind of hang out. So what does that process do? Is it transferring energy? Is it just getting my body to recognize the touch and, oh, okay, we need to move some energy where your hands are? Is it not that simple to explain?
No, it's all those things, right? Like at a fundamental level, everything's energy. And I think what's so important to understand, like Sera said, it's not about coming into this approach where you're manipulating someone's spine or their energy. You're actually coming in and becoming one with it. So it's somewhat of a dance. So when I put my hands on your temples, I'm calibrating like where you and I meet and what I feel through your system. And usually with the temporal system, I'm feeling the cranial system. So there's an expansion and contraction of the cranial bones moving that's telling me about the rhythm of the spine and your cranial sacral wave. So there's more going into it, and I don't have to be in my head about it because I've been doing it so long. I can just be in this flow state with it. But yeah, I hang out there, but it's an intentional hangout.
I don't want to hang out in Rob's cerebral anything. I want to stay as far away from that as I can.
I hope she can't read thoughts is all I'm saying.
I can't. No, I can't.
I just picture as you guys just kind of visualizing what you see in your head is just the Matrix kind of thing. And you're interpreting what's going on. And then I'm totally okay with that. Because in my mind, I don't care what these brilliant chemists did to make this wonderful beer. I don't care what an aeronautical engineer did to make the airplane work. I just want it to work. And when I show up to you, I let you do your thing. Just make it happen. You can see it. You know what's wrong. Go make it happen. And you do. I don't care about the rest of it. You just do it. Keep doing what you're doing.
It's kind of like magic in a way. That's kind of how I think about it. Because when I was first, we had a friend refer me. So our friend Sierra was like, you got to go see Dr. Keiko. And I was like, okay, perfect. Because I was having the lower back issues. And when you were explaining, the whole setup was, you said, okay, I did the medical school thing, the school. So I can diagnose you and like a regular doctor can. But this is how our approach is. And I was like, okay, perfect. Let's give it a try. So we went, did the adjustment, gentle touch. I felt better. I came back, I think a week later, felt even better. And it was like this cool process. And then somewhere along the way, I don't know if this is when I was convinced, because I was convinced early that this works, but I was having a scratchy throat. And it was like 2 weeks. If you have a cold, you have a scratchy throat. And I just couldn't get rid of it. And I remember after an adjustment, I asked you about it. And you said, okay, there's something you need to say. Something you haven't said out loud yet. And I was like, oh, interesting. So then I was thinking about it. What do I need to say? What do I need to say? 2 days later, I said what I needed to say. I was having a job issue unrelated to Mike. And I said it. And like, boom, 2 hours later, my voice was back. And I was like, that Dr. Keiko, I tell you. But it's like these weird things, because I want to ask you guys about what gets trapped in your body, because Mike had mentioned it a little bit before. We grow up, we have all these experiences, these emotions, and our body remembers it. Our brain wants to keep us alive, so it remembers everything. But some of that stuff is not beneficial to us anymore. So is that the kind of thing that gets trapped in our body that you guys help release?
Yeah. So if I kind of look at it, like the first 7 years of your life, you're kind of this open, empty canvas. So all the blueprinting, all the psychology, all the mental, emotional things, all the physical things, they actually start laying down a software in your nerve system. So when we become adults, if we haven't integrated a lot of that belief system or the psychological things or physical aches and pains or any type of trauma, then it gets stuck in the system. And it can manifest anyway. And it can manifest in a physical way, a mental way, an emotional way, or even a chemical way, like through inflammation or toxicity. So I think when we look at the body, the throat has so much meaning. All of our body parts have meaning, and we store different energies depending on our story and where we come from. So for me, it was an open-ended question. Like perhaps there's something you're not saying, or perhaps there's a truth in you that you're not expressing fully. So it's kind of our way of looking at what are you coming in with symptomatically and what's going on in your life, and how do we connect those dots to help you transform what's there?
I store a lot in my midsection, right? There's a lot of storage going on there. So maybe we'll work on that in my next thing. And I knew about you prior to going because Rob went. And then I sent you my Sera. I sent you intern Sera. And intern Sera had all kinds, just like you, Dr. Sera, just had all these kind of crazy, no one could really diagnose it, what the hell's going on kind of stuff. And it just kept going. And then there was Keiko, I don't know, it was Keiko or Sera, one of the two. But there was some like floating rib thing, dislocation that you guys found, and just boom. Like she's back from college now and she wants to get to see you like super quick because, of other things going on, but she knows what you guys do works. And with the traditional medicine that we see, nothing has worked. Everything has made the problem worse. So A, thank you. And then B, I want to encourage everybody to, like Dr. Sera said, just give it a try. She loves skeptics. She'll come, get in here, bring it in. Let's give her the Pepsi challenge. She's ready to go. And I still have a hard time wrapping my head around the entire process. But like I said, it's easier for me just to let it go and know it works and just and let you do what you do. And I'm so excited that we found you.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Yeah.
So because I think kind of all forms of chiropractic, is that even how you say it? All forms of chiropractic, it kind of gets a bad rap. It's kind of looked at as weird. But I think once people try it, because I know some big tough guys, Mike obviously mentioned he's an outdoors guy. He's a hunter. I know this other guy, Justin, who's big, burly dude, works out a lot. He swears by it. So there's a gap between what I guess we would call Western medicine, and because insurance often doesn't cover going to get an adjustment. So you have this sort of, it's not really accepted. Do you guys have any theories as to why that might be? Because it actually works? Is that why?
We've never had that thought, Rob. No, I'm just kidding. We learned that even through school. Like we are the last resort. And traditionally, it's almost people that show up at our office, we are like, this is my last resort. Like, can you help? I'm desperate. So I feel like often it's just the way culture is. We don't grow up with this idea that less is more, or this awareness about our body. It's just, it's very medicalized, and that's the majority of our society. So I'm not anti-medicine, like time and place for everything. But I do think that there's really great things that you can do in your life that take less preventative measures and require less intervention. And I think chiropractic is my favorite hands-on healing art. And I'm biased saying that because I am a chiropractor, but it's an amazing craft. And we had an amazing school and amazing mentorships. And I would really encourage, like, if anyone wants to help do healing or transformation in the world, like chiropractic is a great profession to go into.
But you said there's 100 different types of chiropractic practices. So you have yours. Yeah. And then, so is there the big bully on the block, like the big, hammer you and twist you and all this stuff? Are they just completely different things, or is all chiropractic just something someone should look into?
I feel like it's what Sera said. It's whatever you resonate with. So you resonate with certain types of music. I don't listen to, crazy, angry music that's loud and just like tills my ears. But I think you just have to find a chiropractor that really can feel who you are as a person and can take you on that journey of healing. So it doesn't matter if they're cracking your spine and twisting you left and right. It doesn't matter if they spend 30 seconds with you. I've had amazing, powerful adjustments in 30 seconds where they adjust one segment of my body, and it's life-changing. So you don't know what's going to happen on the table, and time isn't the issue. It's really that connection that practitioner makes with you in that moment and the intention that's there.
Right. And I think there's a thread that connects all forms of chiropractic, and that there's this like inborn innate intelligence, and the body is self-healing. And so all chiropractors approach the body with that intention. And I feel like that helps people shift in terms of medicine. You know, we kind of doubt our bodies, and we're trained to look at what's wrong with us and where's the disease, instead of what's right with us and how is everything I am experiencing in my body, how can I connect it all and be able to create some sort of integration to move towards optimal health. So that's what I love about what we do, is we help shift people from that doubt to that belief in their body, because so many people have lost that along the way, which is so sad, because our bodies are healing and reorganizing and regenerating every single day.
Could you guys write about? Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, I just because Dr. Keiko brought up music, and she was talking about the kind of music she likes. You go into Kinfolk Studio, and it is definitely a certain kind of music. It's if it were Rob walking in, he would want "Bombs Over Baghdad" by Outkast. That's where he would want to be. So in that space, talk to me about music, because I was reading something earlier this week about the brain and why humans just love music and why it's so important. Is that an important part of the chiropractic, the type of chiropractic you practice? Is that music and that vibe, or could it be NWA playing in the background or and you can still do what you do? I'm being serious, because I don't know. Could you still pull it off with Rage playing in the background?
You could definitely still pull it off. Like, I've had to tune out a lot of, like, we're next to a gym. Like, I've had to tune out a lot of stuff sometimes. But, the music is intentional, and we've, curated a playlist to make it really intentional for healing. And music, it's like poetry sometimes. You don't even have to understand the words. It's all the feeling you get from it. So it's felt before it's understood. And this type of music, it's a lot of Sanskrit language, and it kind of prevents you from staying in your head. Like, I don't want you singing to the music necessarily. Like, I'm not playing John Mayer in there, although that feels good. But it lets you kind of let go of your mind and your mental chatter and drop into something a little bit deeper and connect to the body. So the music is essential. Like, I think it's just a trademark of part of the ritual we've built with the adjustment. Okay. And when I don't have music in there, it feels kind of weird.
And I don't want you feeling weird when you're doing. We need you to be in the zone when you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
How do you guys know that you find the right spot with people? Because I've got adjusted by both of you, and it's just a thing that I just know. Like, how do you guys know just by placing your hands on someone, whether it's head, whether it's, chest, whether it's back, whatever? Is it just training, intuition? Is it a feel? You kind of mentioned that, Dr. K, a little bit a while ago. Is that the same sort of, I just know?
Yeah, I feel like you're scanning the system. And I mean, we were trained in chiropractic school to put like a needle in the textbook and then put 50 to 100 pages on top, and you'd have to feel where the needle was. So your sense of perception and picking up on, we call it palpation of the body. Like, we understand the map of the body and all the organs, all the tissues, all the layers underneath it. But you just get to this point where intuitively you stop. And it just happens to be where you need to connect the dots for someone with the adjustment. Now, that being said, I'm not making it up. Like, I have a lot of information and understanding and practice underneath me that allows me to have that level of it. But yeah, you just have that map in the back of your mind that you intuitively know where to go.
Yeah. And you start to feel like the bodies start to respond. And a huge thing is watching the breaths change. Watching if there's a place of contraction or there's an area of tension in the body, the breath will start to come in there and create expansion in that area of the body. So I think we're also tracking a lot of the tone of the body as well as how the breath is moving through the body.
Fascinating.
Now okay, because I'm going to say it wrong again. Probably fascia. You were talking about that. What's going on with that? Because you're the second group that has talked to Rob and I extensively about the subject. First of all, tell me how to pronounce it properly, and then tell me what the heck it's doing.
Yeah, so it's fascia.
Fascia, thank you.
Yeah, the fascia. I mean, the fascia is fascinating. I think it's almost like this, liquid crystal that goes and surrounds every single muscle. So if you think about how we develop from a sperm and an egg. They come together, they unite, and then we build a body out of that. So everything is connected in the body, right? And so the fascia, if you think of almost like sausages, the casing around each sausage, the sausage would be each muscle, but the casing would be the fascia. So the fascia is connecting from the top of your head down to the bottom of your feet. And it's creating this web and this architecture. And so for us, you know, we work a lot with the fascia as well, because it can start to create distortions as these input or as these forces come into our life. They're going to start to shift the architecture of the body. And so we're trying to create harmony and ease and a sense of balance and symmetry in the body. So we do work a lot with the fascia, and the fascia has a ton of information going from the body to the brain. So it's a huge nervous system input, if you will.
See, she knows her clientele, because she started talking about sausage, and I'm in. Okay, you had me. I was zoned in. Being with sausage, bacon, anything like that, just keep those kind of references.
So what kind of forces come into our body? We talking stress? We talking fear? I think bringing in the pandemic, like this past year, there's no question people are fearful. Hence why we're pushing for vaccine passports. People want to feel like, okay, everybody's been vaccinated, I can go out again. So they're living with that fear all the time. And then if you add stress to it too, because fear and stress oftentimes go together, is that the kind of things that you're noticing, you're feeling in the sausage casing, the fascia?
Yeah, I think fear is a huge element. And if you look at the physiology involved with fear, it's like the body goes into a state of contraction, and we actually create less space. And we essentially immobilize our body, immobilize the mind. So we get kind of we turn into a solid rock, and we don't have that open perspective or that lens that allows us to see possibility and have an objective mind. So I think fear is a huge thing. It just turns on this little thing in the brain called the amygdala, and that amygdala can start to take over your prefrontal cortex. And it's kind of like having a 5-year-old run your life, essentially.
That is my life.
Yeah.
I'm a 45-year-old 5-year-old.
Yes.
Now I get
Tight sausage casing. Yes.
They're going to make you into a 7-year-old soon, Mike. Don't you worry.
Yes. I'm getting there.
So it permeates. And if you're living in that state, 24/7, if you're watching the news all the time and you're like, oh my goodness, more people are dying. Oh my goodness, more people are sick. Oh my, people are going out without a mask on. And if you're living in that state, if you go too long, what will that do to your body? I mean, you stay in a 5-year-old, but does parts of your body shut down because you're in survival mode the entire time?
Yeah, so that's interesting. So, we have all of this input coming into our nervous system, and I like to think of us having this bandwidth or this capacity. So if you have an experience within your bandwidth, your capacity, you don't label it stressful. If it's beyond your capacity, that's what we label stressful. Now, if we have so much input coming in that's beyond our capacity, that's creating that stress response in the body, and we replay it over and over and over and over and over, it's going to start to hardwire into our neurology and into our body. It's almost as if a CD gets scratched and it's just going to play repeat over and over and over and over. Right? But what it does is then it's going to decrease your bandwidth and your capacity. So now you need less of an input for it to activate that stress response in the body. So much of the work that we do is how can we slow those patterns down? How can we slow that stress response, turn on the prefrontal cortex to activate a sense of connection and calm and peace and love, and ideally start to open up that bandwidth again so the little things in life don't trigger that stress response.
I love that. And I'll put myself back into this just for a second, because what I noticed after a few adjustments, I have an amazing backyard. It backs up to a mountain, and there's trees that bloom, and there's certain colors that really started to pop for me because I started paying attention to them, because you guys have helped kind of calm me down, because in our lifestyle with the radio shows, and we're constantly involved in all the negative news and politics. So I'm always surrounded by all this nonsense, and coming to you guys is like, Like it just my body feels right, and I just notice things. Probably what you're talking about, Dr. Sera, is that I've given myself. You guys have helped me find that bandwidth to notice those little things and go, life's pretty damn great if you just stop and look at it. Like it's in a mirror. I always think of this, and this is where I go, I guess, real hippie is. Think about the odds that we are alive in this moment. In the whole scope of the universe, we're the only real planet that we really know of that has life form. And to be able to be a human and be able to think with this magical brain we have together in this moment in time, what are the odds of that?
Right.
It's astronomical against us, yet here we are. Like, what if we just decided to enjoy it more rather than, this sucks, life sucks. I'm like, yeah, but we're alive. That's amazing. See? This is the impact that you guys have had on me.
Right. And I would add that it's like biologically impossible for people to gain a greater perspective when they're in a state of stress. Because if you imagine a gazelle being chased by a tiger, it doesn't care about, the beautiful trees and the rainbow and the sunset, right? It is focused on self-preservation. So it becomes very selfish. And so when people are acting selfishly or they're focusing on themselves, that just tells me that they're in a state of stress. Now, if we can take them out of stress, that's when they become more selfless and they're able to gain a greater perspective and they open up, to the things around them because they're not worried about keeping their bodies safe, right? Because we need our bodies to stay alive. And so as soon as that gazelle gets back to the drinking hole and it's not being chased by a lion, it can go back to eating and enjoying the sunset and connecting with its herd mates, and life is good again. So that's exactly what you experience is your biology shifted and you are able to take in the beauty of the world because we are surrounded by beauty, but we have to be in a state of peace and connection and love to be able to appreciate that.
Okay. Now, this is a show that is based in beer, based in spirits and in alcohol. So we've talked about all the stuff with the fascia, we've talked about the stuff with the nervous system and memories and happiness and fast gazelles and slow gazelles. How does alcohol? How does alcohol impact that whole thing? As we know that as Rob and I are enjoying these beers right now, we're just kind of, all right, kind of just falling into this nice little vibe. Everything in moderation. And Dr. Keiko said, you said you're an IPA girl. All right. So which shocked me because I would think that you would think, you know what, alcohol? No, but that's not you. That's not who you guys are. So talk to us about that, about how alcohol impacts everything that we just talked about, essentially.
Right. So it's going to actually impact your prefrontal cortex. So it acts kind of like a sedative. And the biggest thing I think it's going to affect is your sleep. It's going to prevent you from getting into a deep REM sleep. And so sleep is so important because, as we're thinking and having all these emotions, our brain's creating all these byproducts and toxins. And it's in sleep that it's almost, there's a visual where if you take New York and the skyline and you shrink all those buildings down and then you imagine a big wave coming in and washing out the city, that's what happens every night for your brain. So drinking alcohol at night is actually going to prevent that process. So if we do enjoy an IPA, we enjoy it earlier in the day. So
Not this early.
Day drinking. Not
we
this
enjoy
early.
it early in the day, so it does not affect our sleep.
Day drinking is the way to go. Like if it's 9 o'clock and you're pushing a 6-pack, yeah.
Okay. Exactly. Okay. So because a lot of people have like a little nightcap, like have a little bit of bourbon before bed, just to kind of. But it seems almost what that puts me to sleep. But it's preventing me from getting sleep?
Good.
Yeah, there's a ton of research. Yeah. A lot of people love that glass of wine because it helps them get to sleep. But what we've studied with brain scans is you're not actually going into deep waves of sleep. So you're not getting quality sleep, although you think you are. So there's actually a big misconception with it.
And you actually wake up a lot.
You do.
You wake up a lot and you might not remember waking up a lot, but if you don't drink alcohol for a long time and then you have a glass of wine or something before bed, the next day you'll be like, oh man, I'm just a little bit more tired today. But you might not tie it to that glass of wine the previous night.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question everyone's asking right now, listening to this or watching this. So when's the cutoff before bed? Say you go to bed at 10 o'clock. I'm being serious. Like when can the body process that enough so I'm not going to, wake up and flip around and be the tornado that I am at night? Now I'm understanding why I am. So what, like, is there, like, would your body process it, your mind, your brain, whatever, 2 hours, 3 hours? What are we talking?
I think 4 hours before bed is probably safe. It also depends on your weight and your consumption and what type of alcohol you're drinking. But yeah, I'm always a fan of like, it needs to be before sunset. Because if you're in a nighttime drinking, you're kind of pairing alcohol with that time where you should actually be getting ready for sleep. And it really confuses the nerve system. So again, like, I'm not saying don't drink at night, just be aware of what it's doing to your system. And there's things that you can do to prepare yourself for more of a restful sleep if you are going to drink at night. So you kind of have to biohack if you are going to drink at night.
Such as, we obviously need these tips. Yes.
This isn't what I'm getting paid to do, but obviously water consumption is going to be huge for if you are drinking at night to hydrate.
Like 1 for 1, Dr. Keiko? Is like if you have a beer, have a water at least?
At least a 1 for 1 or at half. You just want to be drinking water and hydrating. And then I think it's also smart to be enjoying food with a drink, and then you actually end up drinking less. So the whole intention around drinking, it's know your intention. If you're drinking because you're afraid or angry or in pain, it's probably not really good for your neurophysiology because you're going to start patterning alcohol with that type of pain, and it ends up becoming a defense mechanism and it numbs you out. So I think always know your intention and your set and setting before you, drink.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
See?
Now
I'm learning something. I have to change my life now completely, but I've learned something. I said I'm coachable.
All about your body, man. You got to get your body right? That's the challenge, because you guys talk about this a lot. And Dr. Sera, you introduced me to Dr. Joe Dispenza. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, in his work, shows the amazing ability of the human body to heal itself. Things that modern medicine would never even be able to explain. Yet people have basically, I don't want to say cured MS, other things that we think is incurable, but through meditation. And Dr. Dispenza himself was in a bad bike wreck when it's a very similar story to you, Dr. Sera. And, he couldn't walk, and they told him he's never going to walk again. And he meditated for like 6 weeks, and he rebuilt the structure of his spine. And what was it, like 90 days after he was walking, riding his bike again. So we don't really know even to the full potential of what the human body is capable of doing, but we do know it's like a crazy computer machine that's amazing that can do a lot more than we give it credit for.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the power of the body amazes us on a daily basis. I think it's incredible when you're working with the intelligence. I mean, this intelligence built this body. It knows how to heal this body. You just simply have to, remove the obstacles and then give it what it needs. And it can work magic. And we've seen incredible healing experiences in our studio as well. So yeah, I think working with the doubt and the belief systems of putting limits on the body, it's not something that I really love to participate in, because I think that there are no limits.
Yeah, there's a ton of potential. I mean, we're still learning about the body and the mind. But yeah, it's a beautiful piece of machinery.
Best there is. So
we're number one.
Yes. What if someone is on a journey, just getting started? How would you recommend? Because maybe for some people listening to this is like, wow, this is some deep stuff. Yeah. So if someone were to come up to either of you, and again, we're talking to Dr. Keiko Finnegan and Dr. Sera Shepard, Kinfolk Optimal Living in Scottsdale, Arizona, kinfolkoptimalliving.com. You can find them on Instagram as well. What would you have them do? What would be that introduction that you would give them and say, start with this?
I think awareness is huge, and knowing where you are is really important. So I think a lot of people come to us and they just don't have an honest understanding of realistically where they are. So I think sitting down and really rating, like physically 1 out of 10, where do I feel I am with my body? Mentally, 1 out of 10, where do I feel? Relationships, job, like go through all the wheels of life and figure out where you are, and then find the lowest one and focus on that one. And if it's movement, like I don't work out, I haven't been to the gym because of COVID or whatnot, use movement and make that like your highest priority to move the needle. And movement, it's 20 minutes a day. Raise your heart rate 20 minutes a day. Go for a hike on the weekend. That's enough to start creating a catalyst and a momentum shift to help kind of balance out the wheels of life. But I think number one, you need to know where you are, because otherwise you're not going to know if you're making progress. What would you say next?
I was going to echo that.
Yeah. I think find out where you are first.
And I love the 20 minutes a day, because a lot of the modern research, at least that I've seen, suggests that you don't have to work out an hour a day to get benefits. 20 minutes a day of yoga or a quick workout. Like I started working out at home in COVID because I don't want to wear a mat or at gym, because I'm like, I feel like breathing in my own carbon dioxide is a bad idea. So I'm just going to work out at home. But the workouts are shorter. They're more movement based than running on a treadmill or, hocking weights up and down, messing up my shoulder joints. And I found that to be, for movement, to be way more tremendous than I thought. And I was like, okay, I'm going to buy into this too.
Yeah.
Right.
And movement is pretty instant feedback. Like if I were to do bicep curls tomorrow morning, I would instantly feel that there's a change happening in my body. Whereas maybe eating a salad, you don't feel that change immediately. So I think movement is a great way to kind of give yourself a little bit more confidence that you are progressing and you are taking your life into your hands. I love movement. I think it's crucial to self-development, to emotional well-being, everything. So yeah, that's the number one. Yeah, there's a ton of other things I would do too, but that was where I would start.
So let's talk about your favorite beers. Let's shift gears a little bit. You mentioned this. Let's get back to this. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Sarah's not a beer drinker. Well, you are a beer drinker.
Keiko's made me into
I've kind of turned her into appreciating good beers.
All right.
And actually, during COVID, I don't think we've drank once.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. I know. Mike is like,
You're speaking a different language. I don't know what you're speaking right now. I can't understand you. No,
well, the good news is they didn't use the alcohol to form bad habits, as they were saying.
That's true.
Cover up anything.
But Dr. Keiko, how did you intro? How did you get her hooked? How did you bring her in? How did you bring her into the fold of good craft beer?
I think I'm a less is more kind of girl. So we would split like a Hightower IPA. And at first she didn't like it, but I'm like, just give it a minute. Like, what do you taste? What do you feel in your body? And I think she developed a sensory spectrum of what is in this beer. And then like going to breweries and seeing like the process, it connects you more to what you are drinking, and it makes it more sacred and special. So when we drink, it's to celebrate something. It's like the end of a quarter, it's the end of a month, or it's a birthday or a wedding. Like that's a time that we actually use alcohol because we make it a high sense of celebration, or doing a podcast. This is to celebrate and have a beer. Yeah. So she gradually fell on it. We don't drink a lot, but I think it's so nice to have a nice beer on like a hot summer day outside on your back patio. Or we go for a hike and we'll bring, 2 beers and then open them up at the top of the mountain. That's amazing. Yeah.
Now, what is it? Okay, so today you're going to go to a brewery. If you're going to a brewery today, where are you going?
We like Goldwater Brewing over on, is that Goldwater? Yeah, it's on Goldwater.
Absolutely.
I always have a blast there, and they're still open, and they have a great patio, which I think is really fun.
Have you been downstairs?
Yes, I have been downstairs.
Oh, so cool.
I didn't know there was a downstairs for a while, but yes, I have been downstairs. Yeah, it's a great place. And I love how they explain the beers. Mm-hmm. And I've learned a lot from Rob about beers, even non-alcoholic beers.
Yes.
So, but yeah.
The NA stuff might be a part of my repertoire now that I was told I can't have beer before bed.
Mocktails are good too, you guys. You could do a little mocktail.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we do like a ginger Pellegrino with a ton of lime, and it's delicious. We crush up some mint in there, and it tastes just like a cocktail.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
And you can still sleep at night.
Give it a try.
How much sleep should we aim for? Is this sort of 7 to 8 kind of the ideal, because you need to get your brain washed essentially?
Yeah, the glymphatic system comes into play. So 7 to 8 hours is what you want to aim for, but you want quality sleep.
Uninterrupted.
Right? Uninterrupted quality sleep.
No getting up to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. And there's actually a couple hacks we use. Yeah. So we control the temperature because thermoregulation is really important for your circadian rhythm. So you want to sleep in like a cold, dark room. And taking a hot shower or a bath before bed is actually really great because it's going to heat up the body but cool down your core temperature. So you actually sleep a lot better. Sleeping naked is an amazing thing because you regulate. Yep, Rob's there, right? Mike, you got to take off your shirt.
Whenever.
I guess they.
All right. I really don't have a dog in that hunt. I can't, I don't, whatever. It's fine with me.
Mike, your life is going to change.
I've never worried about it. Like if I've got pajama, I do have a pajama pant addiction. I do have several of those. I just love the feeling, but yeah, I can go commando. That's no problem. So wait a second. So my sleep pattern shouldn't look like that from last night. See, look at them. Do you see the judgment on their face right there? They're like,
they're the least judgmental people ever.
Just observation. Just
where you're at
before bed.
Now sleep naked and see if it changes.
Okay, I'll do that before I get rid of the bourbon. But yeah, I might do both, and we'll see what we can do.
Another great thing, a lot of people are really magnesium deficient. So taking a little magnesium before bed is really great. And I just take like a magnesium glycinate, like 200 milligrams, and I sleep amazing with that.
Interesting. Okay.
What is that second word, glycemate? What does that mean?
Yeah, so it's just different magnesium are going to be bound to things because magnesium can be a little upsetting to the gut. So there's citrate, there's glycinate, there's malate. What are the other ones?
They're all used for different purposes in the body.
Yeah.
So glycinate, the G kind of stands for general. So it's just like a general magnesium that you can use.
Yeah. But magnesium is great. And the last thing, it's very radical, but if you tape your mouth shut before you go to sleep at night, it will enhance nasal breathing and put you more into a parasympathetic state and allow you to oxygenate the body 60% more than you typically would. Yeah, it's been the biggest hack I've had with sleep, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because if I try that on my wife, someone's going to make a phone call. I'm going to get a lot of
duct tape, though,
honey, let me just tape your mouth shut.
Yeah,
we're going to get a lot of flack on this, aren't we?
Yeah, she wants to set an appointment with you guys, so I'm going to save the tape till later because if I do that now, she'll be, you're the ones that had him tape my mouth shut.
Remember, that's a you choice, Mike. That's a you choice. Personal responsibility. Let's remember what we're doing here. not get Dr. Keiko and Dr. Sera in trouble. Okay.
No.
I love it. This has been fantastic. Is there anything else you want to leave us with? You've given us so much wisdom, so much amazing things. And again, I encourage you to go to kinfolkoptimalliving.com to learn more about these two beautiful, amazing people who I wish I could go see every single day. Because it's beneficial. I mean, to do what they do, it's really magical. I walk out with like a buzz every time, and I'm like, and I see the sun when I leave, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's true every single time. Every single time. It's
I know.
like
we make you see color, Rob. We make you see
Yes,
color.
you do. Yes, you do. That's a crazy thing in and of itself. So what is that? So I've been on the table before, the adjustment table, and they're doing their thing, and I'm literally in my head, I'm seeing like pinks and greens and bright blues. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like Northern Lights.
It is. It is.
What button do you push to make that happen?
There's several buttons for that one.
Yeah. All right.
Next time you're in, we'll try and get you on that ride.
Okay. I want the lights. Kick the lights on. I want the Northern Lights with the Northern Lights button.
You want the disco ball? But there's a disco ball one too.
Yes.
Sure.